Coming up, there's a new head coach in Wrestling Town. And later, Caitlin Clark records her second triple-double in her career. All that and more coming up on this Thursday night edition of DITV Sports. Don't go anywhere. DITV Sports starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Max Von Grease. The Iowa women's wrestling team announced their head coach today. Former USA Women's Assistant Wrestling Coach Clarissa Chun was named head coach of the first Power 5 women's wrestling team. Chun is eager to get to work, saying, quote, "It is a privilege to be a part of the Hawkeye brand. With that comes great responsibility and high expectations. I am ready to meet those challenges, and I am excited to build a winning program in Iowa City, Wrestling Town, USA," end quote. Iowa announced the addition of the women's wrestling program in September of this year. The team plans to begin competing in the 2023-24 season. The Iowa men's basketball team crushed the Alabama State Hornets tonight. The Hawkeyes pushed their record to 4-0 with a 108-82 win. This was the Hawkeyes' fourth game of the season, and even though it was another non-conference game, Iowa looks to use these matchups to build a solid foundation for the rest of the season. Check back in tomorrow morning during our live newscast for an in-depth recap of tonight's game. Last night, Iowa women's basketball beat the Southern University Jaguars. Caitlin Clark recorded her second career triple-double with 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 16 points.
So, Caitlin had a triple-double tonight. That is very special. That is really hard to get, really hard to get. And for her to get it in 29 minutes of play is even more spectacular, really.
Iowa had a great offensive performance with 4 players reaching double-digit points. Iowa made 33 out of 38 free throws.
You know, thank goodness for the free throw line, because we got there a lot, but we made a lot. You know, it's one thing to get there, it's another thing to make them, and we made them. 87% is very, very good.
Check out the DI website tomorrow for a preview of the women's game that holds extra significance to head coach Lisa Bluter. The University of Iowa's cornerback Riley Moss is back from his knee injury and is eager to finish out the season strong. DITV sports reporter Mary Merschman tells us more.
The University of Iowa's cornerback Riley Moss has returned from his knee injury. His first game back was this past Saturday, which ended in a win against Minnesota. Moss has no PCL in his left knee. However, he is learning to play with a knee brace, and he is not letting this bump in the road stop him from achieving his dreams.
You know, people didn't expect me to be where I'm at today, and it's really cool to see my hard work kind of pay off a little bit, but I'm absolutely not done, and there's a long road for me ahead, and I'm going to keep that same, you know, mentality that I've had really my entire life.
Despite Riley Moss's injury, he can still finish out the season with 2 games remaining against Illinois and Nebraska.
The Iowa Hawkeye football team is very happy and thankful to have Riley Moss back on the field with them. From Kinnick Stadium, I'm Mary Merschman, DITV Sports.
Field hockey season came to an end on Sunday, but there is so much more for the team to be proud of. DITV sports reporter Lucy Friedel tells us more about the team's historic season.
Field hockey season came to an end on Sunday, but there is so much for the team to be proud of. For the entire 2021 season, the Hawks have been in the top 3 of the rankings, starting at number 3 before climbing their way to the top of the rankings for a consecutive 7 straight weeks. Their accolades continued into the season, with several players receiving weekly Big Ten honors such as Defensive, Offensive, and Player of the Week. When the Hawks climbed to the top of the rankings, it marked the first time Iowa field hockey has been ranked number 1 in program history. The Hawks had previously been ranked number 1, but only at the end of the season. This year marked the first time they were number 1 before the season ended.
Yeah, we've got some incredible freshmen coming in, like building this spring, so I think just looking forward to getting to play with that 21 girls and just taking that time to work on the individual things more over the spring and just coming back and better next year.
At the end of the season, the accolades continued rolling in for the Hawks, with Anta Nizell and head coach Lisa Salucci claiming Big Ten of the Year honors. Nizell won Co-Player of the Year for the 2nd year in a row, as well as claiming Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Coach Salucci won Big Ten Coach of the Year for the 3rd consecutive season, the first time in conference history a coach has received that honor 3 times in a row.
to be outright Big Ten champs, ranked #1 for 7 weeks, and to not advance to the Final Four is really disappointing. It's not the result obviously we wanted, but there is still a lot to be proud of, and their body of work, I think, speaks for how good of a team we are, and that's what happens in hockey sometimes. I think we had a great will to win, but there's a lucky break or bounce here or there, and that's why this game's so hard to play sometimes. So ask them to walk out of here with their heads held high, but to fuel us going forward.
Despite the devastating loss against Northwestern preventing them from going to another Final Four, this team has so much to be proud of with all they've accomplished in this season. From Iowa City, I'm Lucy Friedel, DITV Sports.
With the loss of 2 All-Big Ten basketball players, I dove deep into who will be Iowa's next big superstar on the hardwood. The Iowa men's basketball team has some serious shoes to fill this season. Not only do they have to replace sharpshooter Joe Wieskamp, but also consensus National Player of the Year Luka Garza. The Hawkeyes had a pretty good recruiting class, but they're looking to lean heavily on their newfound transfer from North Dakota, Philip Rebraca. Rebraca led North Dakota in scoring, rebounding, and field goal percentage and was a second-team All-Summit nominee. Head coach Fran McCaffrey is impressed more with Rebraca's defensive skills than his scoring ability.
But he really guards ball screens well. He slides his feet, and I think you're seeing him just continue to improve game after game.
The Hawkeyes are a very young team with a combined 10 freshmen and sophomores out of the 15-man roster. Coach McCaffrey looks to Rebraca to step in and lead the team on and off the court.
He provides a veteran guy with the ability to play with physicality. He's skilled. He's got a variety of skills that really manifest themselves in different ways.
Rebraca's skills will be needed in order for the Hawkeyes to have a successful season competing in Big Ten play. Thank you for tuning in to DITV Sports. Head over to thedailyiowan.com for more on these sports stories. And be sure to tune in tomorrow morning at 8:30 for our live newscast. From DITV Sports, I'm Max Von Grease. Have a great night.